Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna be reacting to.
What shocked me the most returning to the USA?
What's that?
America is not a real place.
I ain't gonna lie, that looks
I
interesting.
never seen that before.
I just came back from a
Cinnamon
big
toast
trip
crunch.
to.
They probably just put
Bacon.
like sugar on the bake. I've seen that
I
before.
don't know.
in
Why
cooking.
should cinnamon?
Yeah, cinnamon. Yeah, cinnamon sugar. I've seen that before
Maybe you
on
should try
bacon.
it at home for free.
Tennessee, Georgia, and New Jersey.
we
And the
don't need
bizarre things
that.
I saw for sale at the Kroger grocery store were honestly not the craziest things I observed. We're also going to need to have a talk about a couple terrifying things I've seen Americans do on the road now that drastically is different than when I lived there, at least.
Not safe. Not safe.
My name is Evan Enninger, and after moving away from the US over 13 years ago, now every visit, I feel like I find something new. These are the 10 weirdest or most interesting things I noticed while recently in the USA. So yeah, let's start off light with the grocery store. America has always been known for pushing the envelope a bit when it comes to weird food products, and if cinnamon dusted bacon is a product that exists there, well, it's because there's a market for it. Similarly, I found churro flavored sausages, another bizarre choice. America has a huge fixation on cinnamon sugar products, which I honestly do miss a little bit about living in the US. In the UK, we do have cinnamon sugar.
I think it
rare
goes great
products
with
here or
salt.
there, maybe one box of cereal, but in the US, hey, it's everywhere. I think the bacon and the sausage
Yeah,
might
I
be a
don't
bit
think
too
they have
far.
cinnamon toast crunch in UK because
They
I
do.
think
It's called Sunny Minis.
isn't it the same?
It's the same. Sunny Minis.
No, because when the kids tried it, they're like, "Oh, this is different."
Rochelle, I grew up
Look
eating
this.
Sunny Minis.
No.
It's the same exact thing
Then
as cinnamon
those
toast
kids, what do you
crunch.
say? Those kids were wrong.
It's just different branding. Is the same exact product. Sunny Minis. It's
Until
called.
I try it, I will
Now-
continue with this point of view.
I don't know. I never noticed the cinnamon obsession here in the States. We use cinnamon a lot in Lithuania too. On like bacon cookies, always cinnamon sugar, always. Uh, I don't know. Maybe in the UK it's different. Maybe not as much cinnamon products, but I never crossed my mind that there's just more variety of foods period here. But in terms of like specifically cinnamon, no. I would say if anything, in the fall, pumpkin spice. We don't have that. Now, pumpkin spice in the fall here in the States, it is crazy.
But it is good, right? Cinnamon sugar is very nice. It's just insane the amount of things I noticed while in that shop. Plus, I, for instance, got very envious of the sheer amount of different cheeses that Americans can buy. I spent a long time walking through that Kroger in Nashville, just noticing everything. There's so many interesting things. The size of the store, the amount of things on sale, the diversity of things on sale. It's just overwhelming.
show the pole he's holding.
As someone who's visiting every once in a while, I'm
I
like,
know, right?
whoa, it's kind of
Because he is holding it, you can see his hand, but where is the pole?
What's really cool is when I see in the back of the car, there's like people do attach a drone or some sort of camera on the back of the car to capture their trips, and you never see where it's hanging on. It looked like it's just flying over the car and following the car.
cool. But I don't really think I'd care too much if Britain decided to sell cinnamon sausages or not. I don't think I'd ever buy them. In terms of actual food, America has
For
so
me,
many
it's
more
just
apples to
weird.
choose
I
from.
can imagine if I saw him in real life doing that. I'm like, oh, what are you doing?
It would be a little bit
It's
weird, yeah.
weird.
Since when I left. The one issue? Well, how much do you think this apple costs? In the UK, the fanciest apple in most grocery stores is Pink Lady, and those cost just under 50p each, or 60 US cents per apple. This one, though, cost me $2.55. That's insane, right? $2.55 an apple? I showed it to
Which
my
apple
American
is
friend
it,
that was with
though?
me at the time, and she looked at my receipt and went, oh, that's your fault. You went for a Honeycrisp apple. And I was like,
Oh.
so what's the difference? Well, I could tell you the difference. It was expensive, but it was one of the best apples I've ever had in my entire life. Oh my God, America, just, they got the Honeycrisp, they got the Cosmic Crisp, biting into that apple. It's like, it's so genuinely crisp and sweet, and it's unlike any other apple I've had in the UK. So sure, it might be incredibly expensive, but whew, that is one nice apple. America might have many more apples to choose from, and they might be expensive, but they sure are tasty. And that's a compliment. But speaking of compliments, one comment I see a lot in more European
I mean, Honeycrisp apples, I think they're like $3.99. No, I think $4.99 for like a 3-pound bag or something like that. Which is not cheap, not the cheapest apple, but they're definitely not the most expensive. I don't know. I never bought apples eaches, like we'll buy one apple, so I have no idea how that
I
compares
think
to.
one apple is gonna be expensive just to buy one.
I just thought, yes, in itself, it just feels like when you buy like a bag, it's cheaper than buying just one. So I would think, I mean, don't get me wrong, $3 or $2.55, whatever, for an apple is a ridiculous price. Like that's just ridiculous. But this kind of his fault though.
spaces online is that Americans are so fake nice, like when they ask you how you're doing with a smile or when a server constantly checks in on you. From my experience, both living in the US and especially after this recent visit, I'd say I don't feel like any of that is fake. I just think non-Americans are not used to it. I was honestly surprised by just how often Americans around me would compliment strangers or strangers would compliment those around me. This is quite a foreign thing to me now that I live in London, but walking into a store, an employee might say to a friend of mine that they really loved their dress or really loved their earrings, and then the two would basically just be really nice to each other back and forth, these two random strangers. I do not experience that sort of interaction most ever in London, like at all. And another situation was similar. I was sitting down at a diner having some food
maybe
with a
as
friend.
a guy, but with the ladies it can be different. Because if you like your outfit, like, wow, oh, I like your outfit.
No, that doesn't. In Europe, that doesn't happen. Like people don't just on the street like, oh, I like your outfit. That doesn't really happen. Like it's just not part of the culture. Like that's exactly what he's talking about. It's just not. Like remember one video, the Croatian one we did where the lady, the super excited lady, the extrovert, she's like, oh, she said the cashier just kind of looks like a robot, just does the job. But that's exactly like they don't really talk to you.
But kind of has happened like naturally.
I mean, if you initiate it, maybe they would like say something polite back, like, oh, you say like, oh, I like your watch. He's like, oh, thank you, I like your nails or something, you know. Maybe that would happen, but I don't think that European person would ever like initiate that first.
Friend, and my friend stopped the waitress to be like, hey,
Comments. What are you talking
I
about?
mean, of course, no, everybody is different, right? So I'm sure there's an exception to the rule. I'm not saying every single person in Europe would never do that, no, but generally speaking, culturally, that's not doesn't happen that often.
I really like your hair. Honestly, it just felt really heartwarming to see so many compliments just being shared with people that don't know each other. It just feels nice because, especially with how our only available spaces online these days funnel us into algorithmically optimized camps to show as much negativity about the other side as possible to sow division and ooh. It was just really nice to see that
is true.
in real life, Americans are still incredibly friendly to one another and not in some sort of fake way. It's just another reminder that the online world and the real world can be completely different things. And hey, if you'd like...
Yeah, that's what we've been kind of preaching through these videos, is that the online videos really portray America differently than what it actually is living here. Like that just day and night.
To pay me a compliment, subscribing is always appreciated. Thank you. Do you hear that? Yeah, that's because bugs in America are really, really loud. Not in a bad way, but no matter if I was in the middle of the sticks or even in some built-up suburbs, even in Nashville, a city, you can always hear bugs all around you. As soon as the sun goes down just a little bit, the outdoors features this
Especially in the
beautiful concert of different insects chirping away that I just really can't experience in Britain. Not at all at the same level, especially not the cicadas. They just add such a natural sound bed to life outside that's just so calming. Even when you're driving in the evening with the windows down, you can hear the sound of bugs all around, just vibing it up. It is one of those things that I never thought I'd miss, but
The good
damn,
thing is
I
you
really miss
hear
the sound.
them, they don't attack you.
I don't know. I would say I hear more bugs in Lithuania than here, but we are in the middle of a city, so I don't expect to hear bugs, you know? So it's kind of interesting that he's saying in the middle of the city he hears bugs like that.
Of bugs. But that is where my positives about bugs end, because Lord above, the bugs in America are so much more aggressive than the bugs in Britain. God, this felt true for the US cities I visited as well as the rural parts. Stand still for a second and I'd be eaten alive by mosquitoes or harassed by a litany of wasps, hornets, or God, greenheads. Listen, if you've never been to the east coast of the US, sure, you might not know about greenheads, but just imagine a big ass horsefly with a green face. He flies the swarm and he's got big teeth and he bites you and he causes big itchy bumps. It's not nice. Insects in Britain, just like the weather there. Very mild, actually. Whereas in the US, they're just a lot more intense. Actually, one thing that's a lot more intense in America than when I left is thrifting culture. Sure, growing up, we'd pop by the Goodwill store to see if there's any good pre-used items or for a good price, like a charity shop in the UK. Recently, from many groups of people that I talked to in the States, it feels like this is now an entire industry. Many Americans have found a way to make a living by going to various thrift stores and buying things there, and then selling them on their own online shops at higher prices. It's not just about this re-thrift business that I found interesting, but compared to previous visits, I found many Americans that I spoke to across various income brackets frequent different thrift stores, specifically just to find things to buy to feel like they're getting a bargain. Like, oh, I got this, but for a lower price. Here we go.
Yeah,
Do
because
you notice
you
anything
can thrift
weird?
at different levels, economic levels. Low end, mid, and high.
Yeah, there's expensive stuff at thrift stores too. You know?
That you might be interested in this photo? It's not for me necessarily, but we checked out 2 junk stores while in Nashville, which are like thrift stores, but with a whole lot more junk. I kind of get the idea with some of the items, like, pots and pans. Sure, that's good. Why not get some pots and pans? Golf club pizza scissors? Or Barbie and Ken bottle openers? It just confuses me a bit as to why there's such a market for junk, reused or not. Removing my bias, it might be viewed like antique shops that I used to visit as a child, where you could get high quality items that last generations. Except now the
Why there's a market for junk? I don't know here about the States. I mean, I can't really speak much, but even like in Lithuania, but that's I guess because we couldn't afford new stuff, so we go to like a farmers market and would bring that like that type of junk. So I guess whatever in Germany like or the UK they determine okay it's trash, garbage, they throw it out. They would repurpose and sell it. Go to like the Eastern Europe to sell it, and they would buy it. So I think it's just why there's there a market for it. Probably because so people can't afford to buy new, so they go to.
And it's good to have a recycle.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
don't go wasted.
modern version of that is plastic junk from the 90s that's been reconstituted into now a usable item. My thought is this whole scene is just a natural consequence of increasing inflation and cost of living, and America
Exactly,
has
yep.
a strong culture of consumption. So this, I guess, allows people to buy the things that they really don't need while feeling better about it because they got it for a low price, I guess.
Oh my God.
Could be dumping fuel. I don't know what the fuck the deal
Oh, it's going so slowly as well.
is. Yeah, I think it's dying. I think it's going to crash to Earth here.
So here I am, just looking up at the night sky, only to see what looked like a failed rocket launch of a rocket ship crashing and burning back to the Earth's atmosphere, which genuinely was scary. I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
It is literally crashing now, whatever that is.
See
Seen
that?
anything like that? It's really.
I guess that's just something you can experience every once in a while when you look up at the night sky in America. Turns out, NASA was doing a test to study the atmosphere 100 kilometers above ground, so sent 3 rockets up, spilling fuel around to study the way that it reacted. That's fun. Other than this, I was going to say, what I do miss the most, which is quite niche, is the sky and the stars. There's just something comforting about the way the sky and stars look where you grew up. Moving halfway across the globe means the night sky can produce a completely different assortment of stars and constellations. Your top favorites are still going to be there, but they're not going to be the same. They're not going to be necessarily in the same position in the sky, and they're not going to be up at the same part of the day, and I don't know, it just feels strange. You won't realize that you'd missed something like that until it's gone. One thing that absolutely I missed was how huge the sky feels where I'm from, and just how pretty the clouds always are. In London, when we get clouds, they're almost always the gray stratus ones that just blanket the city. So I miss the Toy Story clouds above American skies, like the ones I saw while driving through Tennessee.
Oh, these.
Oh, look at that pavement. But who's walking there? No, they will just
Um,
be long.
Yeah, like here I don't feel like there's much Toy Story clouds here, like what he calls Toy Story clouds here in Miami. Miami it's either clear sky or it's dark sky, like rain.
No, that's not true.
I don't
I'm
feel like
looking at it,
you
they
get,
have-
and it is
You
not,
have, you
it is
have the,
kind
you
of,
have the pretty ones too. That is not true.
right now
that is
Miami sky is
not
looking just
true.
like the picture, basically.
No, it does not.
Mm-hmm.
Long,
Stop.
barren stretches, almost as if sidewalks in the U.S. are like highways. Very disjointed highways, as in they don't connect to
I
lots
just
of
think
things.
since you're here older, you don't have time to really look at the sky.
Maybe.
That was a full kilometer, probably a little bit more, and there was nothing the entire distance. There needs to be things on the way. You know what I mean? There just couldn't have been anything, any sort of, also no shade. It's hot as hell in Tennessee. There we go. Now this is a well-designed sidewalk. Look at that. There's a barrier, there's trees, there's shade. There's nothing to do, sure, because of zoning laws, but otherwise, that looks nice. There's a bike lane. Is that the emergency exit to bike lane? Oh, hold on.
Would anyone on a bike feel safe on this cycle lane in Tennessee? Probably not. But here's where things take a turn. Every time I visit the States, due to the poor public transportation options, I always have to rent a car. This means every year, I get to experience what the newest tech is that's been placed inside of cars. And honestly, the tech inside even the most economy car models these days feels insanely futuristic to me.
Oh, sweet. This car has all the safety features. Is this too much for you, sir? Nope, he's turning. Oh my God!
Uber One for students is a
I
premium
guess
membership
it has a
that
self-driving
offers
ability.
exclusive benefits for
God! I'm over the brake. Oh my God, I'm doing nothing. What the hell?
If you have the car in the self-driving cruise control mode, in like a standard Toyota Prius type thing, or even a Toyota Camry, well, it will maintain the speed you set, unless a car slows down in front of you or comes into your lane. Then your car naturally brakes for you to maintain a safe distance, and then it just maintains the speed of the car in front of you until it moves out of the way, and then it speeds itself back up to what your speed limit was set to.
Wow.
Insane. There's also modes where it will literally turn the wheel for you to maintain its position in its lane. That being said, as much as I do feel like these self-driving features and all these like doohickeys that tell you if someone's like passing you and stuff like that, those are really nice and increase the safety that I feel in the car. Well, the other things that I've noticed on the road do the complete opposite.
Oh God, it's an old man on his phone. He was dipping in and out of that. Oh my God, he's just driving over the line. Not safe. Not safe.
One of the biggest things I noticed when driving around in the US that took me completely by surprise is the sheer number of drivers looking at their phones. Even, I'm not just talking about when they're stopped at red lights either. I'm talking about on the motorway, on the freeway, on the highway, on the turnpike. Everyone seems to be just looking at their phones.
Wow.
And it's
At
friggin'
least
terrifying when you notice this type of thing.
that's crazy to do when you're actively driving. When you're at a full stop, a quick check to see if an emergency. But there's so many technology now you can do hands free.
This is not to say no one in the UK texts while driving, by the way. Every once in a while, I might see someone driving a car while attempting to subtly look at their phones at a stoplight or something, and I have asked multiple British friends if this is a thing over here as well, and they said, oh, every once in a while I see someone looking at their phone, and I'm like, oh shit. But in the US, from my recent experience, it's like a gosh dang epidemic, okay? I was parked out front of the Wawa at one point, just watching cars at a stoplight, and every single time, there'd be multiple cars who don't notice that the light has turned green already, and then they step on the gas suddenly when they notice that everyone's starting to beep at them, and then they look up from their phones, and it's just, I cannot believe how often I saw this. At one stoplight, I even noticed a woman in the car next to me had placed her iPhone on her steering wheel and was literally watching YouTube videos while driving. Insane. Mostly because it wasn't one of my videos. Come on. I guess if you were driving, you wouldn't be able to notice the nice color grade details, cause you'd be dead. I literally saw a viral video last week of this girl driving and then just like looking at her phone and then veering off the side and then crashing. And it's like, I saw that and went, oh, that's rare, right? That's a silly, stupid person right there. Holy shit. No, it's the American driving experience. My experience during this trip was mainly across New Jersey, Tennessee, and Georgia, though, so I would love to hear from as many Americans as possible if this is as widespread an issue as my recent trip really made me feel. I had a couple comments on my video recently that went accidentally viral called Why Americans Don't Walk to School Anymore, saying I was being too dramatic, and walking in the emergency lane that has a bicycle painted on it is more than safe, and I'm just drumming it up for the views, judging from the fact that in that same video, I captured a car
Actually,
driving
no, you
needlessly
cannot be
over
walking in
the
the
bike lane, and from the sheer
lane. That's
Yeah,
for bikers.
I never heard of anybody walking in that lane. That's not for walking. I don't know why he was walking there. I don't.
amount of people I've seen while they're on their phone.
But to kind of address what he's talking about, yeah, the texting and driving is kind of common. Because at least here in Florida, they only like not too long ago enforced, made it illegal. Because at first it was legal. Then I came. Then they made it like a secondary offense around like maybe 2015-ish, where it's like you cannot get pulled over for it, but if you get pulled over for speeding and you were texting and driving, you will get charged for it. And I think eventually, maybe like around 2020-ish, somewhere around that, they actually made it illegal where they can pull you over for that. So I think a lot of people got into a habit because it was legal, like back in the early 2010s. So it's kind of, hard to get rid of that habit because in Europe, it was never legal. Like it was always illegal. So I think that's just the culture was never people were never trained to do that. Where here they trained to do that, and it's hard to overcome a bad habit,
phones while driving, I'd say it's more than reasonable to be a bit afraid and not wanting to share the road as a pedestrian with drivers too busy on their phones to notice me walking, especially considering the size of the giant vehicles that these tiny PP men seem to be driving around this foreign country. And phone use while driving. Not even half of it, guys. For the love of God. New Jersey recently legalized weed a couple years ago, and since then, it's gone from the diner state to the dispensary state. Many famous diners that I've gone to a couple times have gone out of business, sadly, but now they're dispensaries to buy weed. A shame they're not like doing the same thing, but also weed, so you could like, I don't know, get some edibles and then get some nice pancakes. Come on, that sounds nice. Legalizing weed? That's cool by me. That makes sense. Places you can buy high quality marijuana products? Hey, that sounds great. But I spent a lot of time on my recent trip on the side of various roads and highways for an upcoming video. In the one place I was standing right here, I was at least a good 5-minute walk away from the nearest pedestrian, as there was a big Walmart parking lot down the road a bit. So the only people here are me and the cars driving by me. And yet the amount of times a car would pass me and I'd get hit in the face with a strong smell of weed is so concerning. With alcohol, you can't necessarily tell if someone has had a drink or two before getting behind the wheel of their car because, well, their erratic behavior could also be from these other things they're doing, like looking at their phones while driving. But with weed, these people are smoking it in their cars while driving, and the smell is overpowering, so it's very obvious that that's what they're doing. For a country that essentially forces its entire populace behind the wheel of a car in order to participate.
The weed is definitely more popular here than in Europe. I guess hard to say how it is now in Europe, but when I left in Europe, that wasn't a thing. Now here, it's like a lot of people smoke weed. It's very normalized. Kind of maybe like cigarettes are in Europe. In terms of driving, it's the weed stench stays in the car for a long time after you smoked once. So just because the car stench doesn't mean the person is actually high. So that's I don't think that's a fair assumption to make. But the people do smoke a lot, though. That is true.
In the basics of society, it is incredibly terrifying that any sane person that is a normal person that just wants to get around has to share the roads with these people. And yet again, this is why I was so upset
Like
about the lack of
even
safe.
remember like by the park, we would drive by the park and the park would just stink like weed.
No, that's the smell of a specific plant.
Oh
That's,
really?
yeah,
I
that's
thought that
what
was weed.
no, it's not.
Oh.
It's lemongrass or something like that. It's a specific grass
Oh, I always
that
thought that
grows
was
there.
weed.
Footpaths and sidewalks around my hometown in Deptford, New Jersey, because it just really feels like you can't even go for a walk outside without needing to be hyper aware of trying to survive and not getting hit by a car or a giant truck or SUV on the road from someone smoking weed and texting their friends. If you are from another state that has legalized weed and you've not noticed this problem, please sound off. I'd love to hear from you. I have seen in London once a driver that was doing balloons while driving, which is incredibly unhinged and unsafe because balloons are pretty fucking lame in the first place, but doing them while driving, what is wrong with you? Either
What is
way,
balloons?
I think I was just genuinely concerned with
Bubbles?
how often I smelled weed standing on the side of the road,
Doing
and there is no other place that
I
it could.
think it has to be something drug related. Because why would it bubble?
I don't know.
Come from
Balloon.
outside of people's driver's side windows. I kind of get it in a way. Like, if I still had to live in America, I feel like I'd be grossly addicted to weed to try and, like, numb some other things that are going on. But then again, like I said, despite everything, the Americans that I met and talked to are just so incredibly friendly and so incredibly nice. So it's just so interesting that living in this, like, melting pot of all these awful things going on at the same time, people in America still find a way to be nice to one another. So, I mean, that's nice. And before I wrap this up with my final thoughts in the conclusion, let me just take a quick moment to thank today's video sponsor.
Let's get to that conclusion, I guess.
Oh.
You just start getting edited. If you want a web store, when viewed on debt that I have, I've got a nice looking landing, squarespace.com. Now, it has allowed me to notice things that I never would have noticed before because, well, they'd just be normal to me or not too different from the day before. It might be interesting to make a video responding to your comments on this one if I see anything in particular that stands out, or hey, if I missed anything big. So please do join the conversation below. If you're a fan of the bigger videos I make, like my video on
Okay.
See the comments?
Yeah. Interesting video. He actually sounded a little homesick to me.
Really?
Yeah, I felt like he was being kind of reminiscent of some things. Homesick to missing the States. Like, he's, because he lives in the UK now. So, feels like some of the things because usually, like, he kind of makes fun of the States a little bit in his videos. This time I felt like he's like a little, because the only really negative that he talked about is the driving. Aside from that, everything was positive, which kind of, not at all what I was expecting. Well, I didn't know how to drive. The idea of people being on their phone was, yes, scary, but it didn't hit me how absolutely insane it is until I could drive myself. The amount of times that I have gotten distracted for 1 second, just think about something and slightly lose focus on the road, I get
Wow.
terrified. I realize how much of my ambient sense of surrounding I have lost in that 1 second and all the dangers I could have encountered.
Yeah, you shouldn't be driving.
Friday, I was driving home from the grocery store, a guy with a very nice vintage car. When we were side by side at a light, I rolled down my window to tell him he had a nice car. You would not believe how wide his smile was hearing a complete stranger give him
Of
props for his
course. That made his day.
I bet that's in the UK though, probably because not used to. In Belgium, we call those tiny bike links moordstrokjes or murder strips. Ooh. USA might have more different brands of plastic grated cheese, but there's no way it beats the UK on actual different cheeses. I don't know. I would beg to differ. We do have a lot of imported cheese. I think that's a misconception that every cheese is plastic. Yes, there's that plastic cheese section, sure, but there's a imported cheese, big ass imported cheese section too. Now they're not cheap, but it's definitely there. So I don't know if the UK would necessarily beat the States.
Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.